Broadcasting live from the Capital OTB studios, this is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow.
We'd like to thank Woodbine for their sponsorship of this program and some of the other programming and events here at Capital OTB. Woodbine open now through December, featuring great racing, including the King's Plate coming up in August, Turf Champions Day with the Woodbine Mile in September, and much, much more. Woodbine Racing, great racing north of the border. Back, we're kicking off Racing Across America, or again, Racing Across North America, as we are north of the border. We're in the studio live at Woodbine, as we were yesterday for a Woodbine Mile Day. And one of the nice things about coming up to Woodbine, we get up in the press box, see our old friends like Ron Gierkink, the Woodbine correspondent for the Daily Racing Forum. Good morning.
Good morning, Seth. How are you today?
Very good. Overall impressions yesterday? The weather was great. It was a nice summer day, and I think the stakes racing action held up.
Yeah, it was a wonderful card, really. So we saw some great performances and, some maybe Breeders' Cup type efforts in the win and you're in. Yeah. So, I thought it was a really good card.
I wore my Breeders' Cup tie yesterday in honor of that, and I think we wound up, as you say, with some winners in the win and your ends that are going to make some impact out there. Well, at least attract some attention, including we'll watch a replay of the stretch run of the summer. It's going to be Argos getting it done. Another great one for Riley Mott. I said earlier I'd forgotten all about it until I got in here this morning. I had interviewed Riley up at Saratoga this summer after his first grade one win. Adds another one, and it's a win and you're in. Argos, I interviewed Flavien Prat after the race yesterday, and we showed that earlier. And he said, in the stretch, I was just trying to get in the money. I didn't, and then he kind of mid-stretch, I think he realizes, this may turn out better. And it was a nice run from Argos to get it done. Running the record now, 2 wins in 3 starts, was third in the Soaring Free up here in the middle of August. And Flavien said things just didn't work out that day. Got a better trip yesterday.
He did, yeah. Drawing in the one hole really helped. I think he was on good ground all the way, saved ground on the freshest part of the course, and then he swung him wide for the drive. He really had a nice trip. Unlike in the Soaring Free, he was in the prep. He was wide all the way. Pretty deceptively good third. Yeah. So, and the horses, like most of that field, the horse is bred to go a mile, bred to stretch out, and he really put it all together. A nice effort, a super ride.
And we'll talk about it with Josie as well, because she commented on it. But I think talking Friday with Kevin Attard and Josie in anticipation of being on the inner turf, they were kind of, I was going to say okay with it. It was really more than that, because it's a win and you're in. And if you won, as Argos did, you got a trip over a course that's essentially the same configuration you'll see out at Del Mar.
It is, isn't it? 7-8. So the specs are quite similar, aren't they? Yeah.
So as I say, they were perfectly fine with the situation with the change in the surface. And again, if you watch again today, if you're watching yesterday, the home stretch looks fine on the main turf course. But if you look on the back stretch, there is clearly work going on. So there's a rehab going on that. And they'll be back in action on the course next year, right?
Yeah, sure. Hopefully within a year for this day next year, if all goes well.
Very good. Yeah. All right, let's take a look at the Ontario Matron. I was a little bit surprised, I have to admit, with the betting. I I thought Caitlin, her greatness was in the mix to me. I took a little shot with last year's winner, Fashionably Fab. Unfortunately, that one winds up 5th for me at 13-1. But as I say, I had Caitlin, her greatness in the mix. I didn't see this one as a 4-5 favorite, however. But again, we'll watch the stretch drive in the Matron, and Caitlin, her greatness under Flavien Prat, who had a nice day yesterday, winning these 2 stakes, gets it done from the 10 post position, and I'm just looking. It was the 9 with the scratch, but was outside. Didn't prove to be an obstacle, because in the stretch she started to run and wins by a chart margin of over 3 lengths. Hurricane Claire second at 23-1, 4 Flying third at 21-1. So some prices underneath that maybe added some value. But as I say, I was surprised by the price, but the betting public nailed it.
Yeah, they sure did. I mean, Flavien Prat, I guess, was part of that, right?
Yeah.
I think this race was a bit of an afterthought for the barn, and then they decided to go in, and then like he had two more, including the French filly, Kevin Attard I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Wild Pansy, who I liked, who was very rank and didn't run very good. But Prow was supposed to ride her. He ended up on Caitlin, and this is her trip, right? A mile and a 16th on the Tapeta, 2 turns on Tapeta in a grade 3 company. I guess it was a logical thing. And like you say, the public nailed it. She got back on Lasix. That might have helped a little bit. She just kind of reaffirmed her status as maybe the top older mare in Canada on the main track.
And Kevin said, and I think it proved to be right, the mile and a quarter last time in E.P. Taylor was maybe just outside the comfort zone, got back to the comfort zone. E.P. Taylor, she was behind the nice Cherie DeVoe runner. She feels pretty, and was well beaten that day. But the cutback proved to be, the sauce that got her a good win yesterday. And again, betting public nailed it there at 4 to 5, $3.70 for that one. Let's move on to alluded to it earlier than Talma. We showed an interview I did after the race with Josie Carroll, and I said to her, because most of the time the trainers are like, well, we'll get back to the barn and decide about the Breeders' Cup. So I said, well, I'm sure you don't want to make the decision yet on the win, and she's kind of giving me a look like, oh, no, we're going. And I'm sure, again, I was just anticipating normally. It's like, well, we'll see but the game plan clearly. Boy, the price, if I'm saying the price on Caitlin, her greatness baffled me how short she was. This horse, 2 for 2, including a stakes win, goes off at 12 to 1. We'll watch the stretch run yesterday and then Talma and see Corsia Veloce. And Josie Carroll gave up a lot of, tip of the cap to Fraser Abley and said the ride was really good. Now 3 for 3 and goes out to the Breeders' Cup looking pretty good, I would think.
Yeah, I mean, she ran super, didn't she? Another horse well drawn inside. Got a great ride. I mean, assuming Fraser's going to ride the horse back in the Breeders' Cup, I hope that'd be cool. That would be a great story. Yeah. His first mount, his first Breeders' Cup mount, just a young guy, a year away from being an apprentice. And, on pedigree wise, you look at Practical Joke and it's a sprint dirt type pedigree. But this filly has just defied her pedigree, and she's done everything, right? She stretched out nicely, and, she ran a little slower than the Colts, than our Argos, but really it was a nice effort. And how she'll fit in at Del Mar is a question. But interesting. How about a maiden finishing third? And of course, you remember last year's maiden finishing third because that's who you played, right? Nitrogen, yeah. But
don't remind me. And you had the winner there, and our colleague Mike Callahan at the second place horse. Yeah. Mike said today we may have to get our top picks in some of the stakes races and botch up the triple.
Yeah, last year's a winner and one more time. She hasn't run since, but she worked about an hour ago.
Oh, really?
So she's close to making her first start back after obviously having some issues, right?
And we commented earlier, deep learning from Chad Brown. I use that one on top. I'm a homer. Comes out of the win in Saratoga, Chad and Klarovich. But Chad coming up to Woodbine. It's not Saratoga.
9% the last 5 years he's at Woodbine, according to DRF Formulator.
That's crazy. Yeah. We mentioned Fraser Abley, but I'll ask you because you're up here all the time for the Racing Forum. And we interviewed him Friday morning. We had the interview on the show yesterday. But how about Pietro Moran? 20 years old, wins the King's Plate. He's the leading rider at the meet. That's crazy.
Yeah, he's a very popular kid and a very personable kid.
Absolutely.
He's got his father to kind of guide him around and everything, and he's very talented.
And I guess his brother's an outrider.
Yeah, his brother's thinking about becoming a jockey.
Oh, really?
Maybe waiting for Pietro to lose his bug and go from there. But his brother's name is Will. So
he'd move into the Moran apprenticeship.
The program. And after winning the plate, his brother was the outrider, guided him back to the winner's circle.
That's wild.
Great stuff.
Huh? I asked him, what's it like to compete against your father? He goes, oh, it's good. Because it doesn't happen often at playing. And then he said, it's even better when I beat him. I said, I like that. Very good. All right, the Woodbine Mile. We'll get the stretch run here. I took and I said when I handicapped yesterday, I may be crazy, and I was. I took a shot with Win for the Money. He was the defending champ for Mark Cassie. And I said I had notable speech right underneath, probably the one to beat. He was the one to beat at 2-5. And when he tipped out in the stretch, you knew he was going to live up to the price.
Yeah, it was a very cramped kind of course for the three Godolphin horses, and Appleby got squeezed back at the start, really got pinched back at the start a little bit by the South African horse, One Stripe, and put him behind the 8 ball a bit, but he drove him up the inside early and got into a sort of a stalking position, and then the horse came flying and stayed on his left lead in the stretch and didn't matter. He once he found room, kudos to my boy Prince for running a gutsy race on the lead. But this race was notable speech's race to lose, and he showed up.
Yeah.
The real notable speech came. Yeah, win for the money, as good a trip as he had in this race last year when he had a dream run up the rail. He was 4 wide, right to the far turn. Yeah. That was the difference for him.
Yeah, he was up against it a little bit yesterday. But unfortunately for me, as I said, took a swing and whiff. I should have, like a lot of people, popped up maybe a single on notable speech because he certainly looked at it. Showed an interview earlier we did with Alex Miriam, the assistant to Charlie Appleby. I was kind of surprised. I guess, with the timing, it's not so much, but he's going to head back home before he goes to Del Mar. And you would have to think off yesterday's performance, he will attract a lot of attention in the Breeders' Cup.
They're 2 Woodbine Mile winners. They both ran once before the Breeders' Cup. So I don't know what the plan is for him if he's going to do that, but they both ran once before
That's interesting.
So we'll have to see what they do. But you got to think he's going to be a serious BC Mile contender, right?
He'll clearly take a lot of action off of that effort because again, he tipped out and it was like, okay, it's over.
Yeah.
Finally, the vigil yesterday. I said when I handicapped, I'm a buyer's guy. They're a tool in the toolbox, but when you get kind of a standout buyer, that attracts my attention. Although I said yesterday, you don't like to make a decision based on one race, good or bad. And that buyer, he fired in the Bold Venture, triple digit, but it stands out. It's a little bit of an aberration. He has some 99s in there, but just looking at the rest of the field, I couldn't go past Simcoe. So that one I did get right. Simcoe, we'll watch the stretch run. And at the top of the stretch, I thought he might get swallowed up a little bit, but he dug in and held off nicely and winds up winning by almost a couple of lengths as the 6-5 favorite.
Yeah, it was a very gutsy effort, and he's now Canada's top sprinter. Well on his way to the Sovereign Award with Patches O'Houlihan having only raced twice this year before his unfortunate demise. But this horse has turned into a real monster since Katarina turned him back to sprinting back at Turfway, back last fall, really, here. And he had a great Turfway meet, going through his conditions, and then, rode a live rail to win that Old Venture with a 103 buyer, and then got his trip yesterday too. He's a tough horse to run down when he gets the lead. He doesn't want to let anybody go by him. And
like I say, it looked like they may go by, but it's one of those that you love to play because at the top of the stretch, if they're coming, he's going to dig in and maybe it gets caught, but more often than not, he says not today. Goes out for Chiefs Wood. One of the perennial players up here at Woodbine as well. So it was a nice stakes day yesterday. We talked earlier, the all stakes pick 5. You had a $3.70 horse with Caitlin of Greatness, notable speech $2.80. Simcoe was $4.60. Argos was playable, $15. And again, the price on Corsia Veloce was just wrong, 26. But the all stakes pick 5 for 20 cents, $337. So there was some value there to be made. Despite the short-priced horses coming in 3 of the races.
And I got that pick 3, the $5 base in the pick 3. I got that for $980 or something like that.
That was a nice price too.
With notable speech. Right? Very gettable.
Absolutely. All right, let's get some ideas for today. We have a couple of stakes on the Sunday card. They are state-bred. They're Ontario-bred stakes races. The Victoria Queen today will be race number 7. They're going to go 6.5 furlongs. I had it 5, 3, 7, and 2. I put Sipping History on top off the nice maiden breaker. Now, a little tougher stepping into stakes company, obviously, but it looks like a horse that's just getting better and better. So I'm going to look for that one to maybe put two together. Super Diva is coming in off a stakes win, so logical player. Pageant Queen, I thought also could be a player for Jamie Begg. How did you see the Victorian Queen?
I like Cayenne Kiss last time in the Muskoka Stakes. It's a yearling sale stakes. She barely lifted a hoof off first start off of her easy maiden win. After the draw the other day, I called up Bill Theranos, the trainer, and he said she came out of the race a little sick, and he thinks. And then she's since worked in her usual fast manner, so I'm expecting a bounce back from her. She really looked good winning that maiden race, even though the buyer wasn't huge. So I'm thinking maybe 5-10 to 1 that she could be competitive.
I like that, and the last workout is pretty good. The minute change,
and she could get a good trip. Yeah, I think maybe if someone goes with Super Diva this time, possibly Sipping History, that she could get a nice inside trip. Stalking before making a move with Pietro Moran.
Yeah, the aforementioned Pietro Moran, who again,
that's who I like.
Leading jockey. Mm-hmm. All right, I like that because I think off the latest, I think you will get a little bit of a price. Yeah. It's 5 to 1 on the morning line, and I can certainly see that holding up off the latest. 8th race today is the Bull Page. Again, another state bred stakes race, 6.5 furlongs to trip. I'm kind of master of the obvious here with Big Bold in first, coming in off a couple of wins, including a stakes race. But I thought the first-time starter, Be the King, might be a little bit interesting. There are a couple of workouts that tout this horse as maybe being a little bit live. Silver is Best, Bank on Big Winner, also in my mix. What did you see in the Bull Page?
Well, yeah, the race kind of revolves around Bill Theranos again. He ran the three of them against each other in the Simcoe, and the longest price won. Big Bold in first, who got the lead and kept going. I asked Bill, I said, what do you think? Like, what about the other two? Why didn't they show up? We know Silver is Best didn't want to load in the gate that day. He was kind of wound up pre-race. He said he did some work on him going into this race. He kind of predicts a better effort. But he was really disappointed that the rider took Bank on Big Winner back off the pace in the Simcoe. And the horse didn't do any running after that. Now he's put blinkers on. I'm thinking speed on the rail. He's changed riders to Savachi. So I think that horse is going to be gunned to the lead. And I think Bill's really high on him to maybe rebound. And, don't forget, Bill's a former used car salesman. So he talks a good game. So I'm drinking the Kool-Aid today with Cayenne Kiss and Bank on Big Winner. So, and I think maybe Big Bold in first. If he gets out sprint for the lead, maybe he fades, but we'll see how that goes. And you mentioned the Be the King. I think that horse has worked pretty well. I haven't seen any of those works, but the trainer Julie Carey doesn't win first time out very often.
Yeah, but, that scared me away a little bit. But I thought the price would maybe mitigate that. I mean, it's 5 to 1 on the morning line. I can see this horse going off a little bit higher. I'm not sure I'd want 5 to 1 on the first time starter, but if it floated up a little bit.
I'd really like to sequence the pick 4, the late pick 4, late pick 5, with starting with the Victorian Queen. So I think that's what I'm playing today.
All right. Why don't we just continue and get ideas on the last couple? The 9th optional claimer, non-winners of 2. They're back on the grass here. 8, 1, 6, and 9 for me. Sultana, again, I'm kind of going with the 2 to 1 shot in here. 3 to 1 on Texas Holiday. Those both look logical to me. But Marty Drexler with Design, the 6 horse. I thought coming off the win last time, that horse could be a little bit playable at a price in the 9th. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with all that. Those contenders. Yeah, Sultana trying the turf for the first time. Always dreaming of surprisingly good turf numbers. I think it was 14% turf routes, if I'm not mistaken. So that's who I landed on. But if she doesn't show, and she's a 4-year-old run against a lot of 3-year-olds here, but I like the 1 and the 2 that you mentioned, Texas Holiday and Brutally Honest, and Design with Zarel Ford taking over the young apprentice from Barbados. He's had a pretty good meet. He likes to stay ground a lot too, so I could see that horse running well too.
I wasn't familiar with him, but the numbers are okay. 14% at the meet.
He's had a good meet. He's a nice young kid, and he's not afraid to rally up the rails. So yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, and that on the pick 4, I definitely would toss the 6 into the mix. And we'll wrap things up with that pick 4 sequence in the finale. I'm 7, 6, 5, and 2. The 7 have 5-1 on Got Me Good, and I think off the last couple, I'm not super enthusiastic. This is on a pick, a horizontal play. I'd use all 4 of mine. I think they're all comparable, but 5-1, 10-1 on Yorkton's Honor, 20-1 on Times of Breeze, as I say, and Private Label is 5-2. But I think talent-wise, they all look pretty close to me. What did you see in the finale?
Yeah, I went with Private Label. You go 3 back to that 75 buyer he got going long on the Tapeta, and I think maybe he could get the lead. If he gets a comfortable lead, he could go all the way on which is the preferred style on the way this track's been playing lately. And Ryan Munger riding him, he's a good front end rider he doesn't hustle him to the lead, but if he gets the lead, he's tough to catch. So going from turf to Tapeta with him, I don't mind him. And second time Lasix, that's who I'm going to maybe rely on the most.
All right. And again, fun sequence for that pick 4 to wrap up the weekend. Ron, as I said earlier, it's always fun to get up here and see you. Last year we saw you down in Saratoga. That was fun as well. But up here, we always know we're going to see you in the press box. Press box is always a lot of fun up here, a lot of familiar faces. And we're also up here on a big weekend whenever we come up, and that was fun as well. As I say, nice weather, which is going to hold up today. But again, fun to see you. Appreciate the visit this morning, and we'll probably check in down in the studio, maybe give you a phone call for the next big weekend that's coming up in October. So we'll talk to you then.
Sounds good, Seth. Thanks.
All right, we'll take another break. When we come back, Greg Peacock will join us, so stay tuned.
You know the time is now. What you waiting for? The time is now. Hear us knocking at the door. The time is now. Do you want to give them more when the time is now? You've seen the best now. You want the best when the time is now.
코리아컵 출발합니다.
이 순간을 위해 여기까지 달려왔다. 이제 내일을 향해 뛴다.
Want to get your career in horse racing off to a fast start? Well, the University of Arizona's Racetrack Industry Program is your winning ticket. The Racetrack Industry Program has served as a springboard to some of the industry's most successful individuals, with a proven track record of job placement right out of college. If you want to earn a degree in the exciting horse racing industry, the Racetrack Industry Program can put you in the winner's circle.
Welcome back to Racing Across America. As promised before the break, again, we always like our trips up to Woodbine. The hospitality is always great, and that includes up in the press box, where we see a lot of our friends year in and year out. One of those being Greg Peacock, Clocker up here, and more at Woodbine. Good morning.
Hi, how you doing?
Very good.
Welcome to the 51st state.
Glad you got that in. Again, it's always fun to be here and to just give me your impressions of yesterday. I've already said it a few times, but it was a nice stakes day. But it was a gorgeous day. Early in the week, we were kind of thinking it might be dicey weather-wise, but it was a great summer day. Nice crowd here, and certainly the stakes races lived up to the billing.
Absolutely, and the thing of it is on the inner turf course, which is the only turf course we're going to have for the rest of this year and most of next year, and because those races were run there yesterday, there's some pretty interesting statistics about that peculiar to that course, and so far this year in turf routes there. The outside posts 8 to 12 are like 8 for 85. Yeah. So when you draw an outside, anybody yesterday who was in those 3 big races, those win and you're in races, who ran good races from the outside, you got to watch those horses because it's basically an impossible task to win from an outside post. And even sprints on that course, the horses are in the outside 5 posts are 8 for 80. So, it's the turns are tight. And I know a lot of the trainers were interested in seeing how they handled that yesterday, because when they go to Del Mar, it's going to be the same configuration. And you're going to have horses that handle that. So in a way, you downgrade the performances of the winners because they came from the 1 post, and the 2 post. But that's not to say that they're not going to run well out there too.
Well, we mentioned it earlier. The one to look at there in the summer was Argos won from the 1,
right?
But the Appleby horse Wild Desert comes in a nice second, despite some trouble on the coming from an outside.
Exactly. I mean, loss of ground on that course. It's deadly for your chances because you're just hung out there, and the turns you spend a lot of time on the turns.
Yeah.
And when you're out there and you're trying to close ground, especially on the second turn, boy, it gets tough.
And that also could have played into the Chad Brown horse yesterday.
Absolutely. It's sad, but unfortunately, we're going to be on that course, and you can watch the races for the rest of the year. We've still got 5 or 6 or 7 weeks left. A lot of those races are won at the draw and lost at the draw, which is kind of sad, but hey, say la vie. That's horse racing.
That is horse racing. And I said yesterday when I handicapped, I said, I have a number of horses on the outside. I'm not sure how that's going to work out for me. And now we know. What were your thoughts on Notable Speech when he tipped out in the stretch? I took a shot against him with a win for the money. And I said yesterday, I may be crazy. Yeah, I was crazy.
Yeah. He's the real deal. I'll tell you, he got banged about at the start.
Yeah.
And then what happened is William Buick, I think in the other 2 races, got a little bit too far behind. And the one thing about these European riders especially, they come out, they walk the course before the races. I'm not saying they're more dedicated than our local riders and things like that, but these guys are very concerned about where should I be, how's the course playing, things like that. So all of a sudden he got slammed. He was right at the back, and then he said, "I'm going to drive up through on the inside." And he buzzed right up the inside there, and that saved the race for him. He adapted after a bad start. He went to plan B. Worked out.
Josie Carroll, speaking of riders, gave a lot of credit to Fraser Abley with Corsia Veloce. And I've said it already a couple times this morning. The price on that one seemed crazy. 2 for 2, including a stakes victory, and you got $20-some.
Yeah, the thing of it is, in that race, the reason I like the horse is because the race before, I bet the horses who ran 2nd and 3rd to it, and it was a fast pace, and they came to that horse, Josie's horse, and she just pinned her ears back.
Sweet Fusion, I think, went by at one point.
Yeah. And she pinned her ears and she battled back, and she was widening on them again at the end, even after being close to a hot pace the time before.
Yeah.
So she's quality. I don't know whether she's quality, in the Breeders' Cup, but if she draws an inside post and gets another trip like that, wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, I mean, I if they let that one get away to price again, I will jump on. I had the horse in my mix yesterday and used it a little bit.
One other thing about our track, our Tapeta track. Last year they did some work on it. We were having some problems with it, and this year I've never seen a track play as rail oriented.
You guys were saying that.
It's just rail oriented, and it's not necessarily speed horses are going to be on the rail, but there's lots of closers win, but when they win, they drive up the rail. Yesterday, a good example, Maps and Breeze yesterday in one of the later races, sat at the back and came up the rail. If you're deciding between 2 horses on our Tapeta track. One's inside, one's outside. Take the inside horse. The inside seems to be so much better. We even notice that when we're clocking in the morning. When 2 or 3 horses line up and work together, guess what? 90% of the time, the inside horse, regardless of whether they're better quality or not, beat the horses on the outside.
Which is not usually the case.
No.
It's
usually 50-50 or something like that.
Yeah.
When they're, especially we notice that when they're working. We've even started putting a stat up on the show during the day now. Ernie Perry, our head clocker, says, the inside's good again today. Yeah, and here we go again today. It's like deja vu all over again.
Yeah, Maps of Breeze yesterday in the penultimate 11th race.
Yes.
I know you liked that horse.
Yeah, I did.
When he started to come up the rail,
yeah,
I think you got extra.
Yeah, I got
18-1.
Yeah, I got into my cheer mode.
But again, proving what you say, he came up the end. Fraser Abley took advantage.
Yeah.
Speaking of the jockeys, I'll ask you as well. I asked Ron, and I've asked the other folks we've had, including Klaus. We talked to Pietro Moran on Friday, dropped the interview in yesterday. But, how about this kid? 20 years old, wins the King's Plate, and he's the leading jockey at the meet.
Yeah, he's something special. I think he's the first jockey to win it was the King's Plate. He had to go back to the King's Plate back like 40 years ago when another apprentice won. And the thing, though, what's cool about it is he comes from a racing family. His dad rides too, and he's a very he's a well-spoken. He's a great kid. He's a nice kid. Everybody who talks to him says, "Wow, he's a young gentleman. Like he's going to be good for the game because he puts that out there and he's good. He answers your questions. He's knowledgeable. Unlike some jockeys nowadays, he reads the form. He watches for biases. He's got the whole package, and he's so young. Oh, wow.
Yeah, no, we had an interview, and it was a great interview. And then afterwards, I said to him, "How old are you?" And he said, 20. It's like, oh, God bless you. 20 is when the King's Plate is the leading jock. And he said, has the bug through January. And I said, "What are you planning for the winter?" He's come to the States. He hasn't decided where, but we will certainly.
Wherever he goes, he's going to do well because he pays attention. He's a student of the game, and that's important too.
And playing into what you talked about, you love to see jockeys who are paying attention because they can take advantage of those bias situations. And you can see on a day-to-day basis who is paying attention and who's not.
100%. You can see it. They try to get on the fence here when the fence is good, and they try to stay off if it's not so hot. So
let's get a couple ideas for today.
Right.
Again, last year we were in here. You gave us a couple. Last year you gave us some out of town too.
I know. I was I was across the border. I think a couple of the locals went down to Prescott and ran good.
I think you had one in New York even.
Yeah. Today I'm Woodbine centric.
That works.
I'm just after yesterday. Let's go.
All right. We'll take a look at some 2-year-old action. I like 2-year-old action. I always look up the breeding and whatnot. But in the third, we're looking at maiden optional claimers, C condition, 3/4 of a mile. I put the 3 on top. Time Zapper. I'm nothing special here. Reload Raleigh coming out of poor performance, admittedly, but it was behind Corsia Veloce.
Yeah.
So that was a little bit interesting to me. Eubank, I thought was a player, but what did you see in the third?
I like Reload Raleigh. The thing of it is, he broke slow in his first start, and blinkers on. And since the blinkers have come on, the workouts have improved dramatically. So Barb Minshaw, she's had a good year with her 2-year-olds. And first start out, she's not that good. But when she brings them out second and third start, they seem to improve. And I think the mere fact that the blinkers are on and that trouble line in the first start and dropping from that, at Woodbine, it's kind of a hidden drop. It's they're wide open maiden races where you catch a lot of Mark Cassies, a lot of Kevin Attards, a lot of, you know what I mean? You catch some bombers. In this category, you're not looking at the big horses bought at Keeneland, the Kentucky breds, and things like that. So I think this horse is going to run big today. I think the 6-1 in the morning line might be a stretch. I think you're looking at more like 3-1, 7-2.
Even with the poor performance, you think? I mean, you and I are looking at all the same stuff. I guess the betting public will too. But I looked at the morning line and wondered which way we would go because it's a 10 buyer. but you think we're going to come down from that?
Oh, I think so. I
Yeah.
think I wouldn't even be a bit surprised to see 3-1. And Ryan Munger's been doing well for Barb Minshaw too. That's a good jockey trainer combo. I think they're over 20% together. So that to me is the first play for me today.
All right. And more 2-year-old action in race number 6. They're on the turf for maiden specials. I went with the 3 in here at 10-1, Lennox the Gray. I thought the first effort was a good experience builder for Catherine Day Phillips. Spite's Will also at 10-1 intrigued me a little bit. So interested to see where you're going, because I have a couple of prices in the mix. Maybe I'll exacta box up some horses. What did you see in the 6th?
Well, I like Byam. I think I'll tell you a story. He ran back on King's Plate Day, and he was in the first race with another horse called Court that Josie Carroll trains. And on big days, the people like to bring the big bankroll. I had the elastic around it. I was going to take it off for this first race. So the gate opens up. I got Court for Josie Carroll, and I got this Byam horse for Kevin. Gate opens up. Court's got the 9-hole. Byam's got the 6-hole. Court makes a Snagglepuss exit stage left move and wipes out half the field. So then Court, he keeps going, but I'm not really watching that. I'm seeing, oh my God, Byam got a bad start. Oh, there goes half of the 2 that I like. And Court ends up second. So I still got a $5 exactor. Then one of the guys who does the charts upstairs says, come over here, look at the start. So anyway, I'm looking like this. I don't really want to watch it because I know it's bad news. So anyway, I was all ready to turn Jeffersons into Hamiltons that day, right? I was raring to go. And then all of a sudden I see the head on and I go, oh, man, this is going to be a long grind trying to get even today. So I remembered when we were, and the guy who gave me the Jeffersons to Jacksons, I used to go to the OTB in Niagara Falls, New York. And there was a guy called 10% Tony there, because Canadians, when they cashed a ticket where you had to have a withholding, he would always cash them for us for 10%. And this guy,
there was a guy like that.
This guy was the biggest character in the world. We're at the Main Street OTB in Niagara Falls, New York one day, and we hear this big boom outside, right? So we go outside, and a dump truck ran into the back of a bus. Everybody's trying to get off the bus. 10% Tony's trying to get on. He comes off holding his neck. He shows up the next day at the OTB with the neck brace on, and he says, I think I'm going to get about $5,000. I think he settled for 3. But God bless him. Anyway, back to Byam. Kevin he gets first time Lasix, and if you saw that start, he was 4-1. He took money, but anybody who can watch a replay of that race, and a head-on replay, he was trailing the field so bad. And it's kind of one of those things where Pietro Moran, he's Kevin's basically Kevin's father here. He puts him on all the good horses. And I think he kind of said, well, I'm 15 lengths back. It's kind of out to lunch. Now he's stretching out, which is a big, big, big angle for Kevin. 5-2 in the morning line. I think you might get all of that, maybe more. I think this horse he's my best bet of the day.
All right. I had him down the 4th spot. As I say, now I'll box mine up definitely in there, because I had a couple of prices up on top. So, all right. So yesterday, Luke Elder gave us a Scooby-Doo reference. Today we had Snagglepuss. So, for folks out there in the audience.
Yabba-dabba-doo. You're getting all the cartoon characters on the show, Seth. Attaboy.
I try. I try to keep it entertaining. And Greg, appreciate the visit as always, and some of the thoughts today. And I will tell people he has good opinions. So certainly take a look at the 3rd and the 6th today for some of the horses we talked about. But again, always great to see you guys.
100%.
Appreciate the visit this morning, and we will be back next year for more.
Always good to see you and your crew.
All right, we'll take a break. I'll come back and wrap things up here from Woodbine. Stay tuned.
Want to get your career in horse racing off to a fast start? Well, the University of Arizona's Racetrack Industry Program is your winning ticket. The Racetrack Industry Program has served as a springboard to some of the industry's most successful individuals, with a proven track record of job placement right out of college. If you want to earn a degree in the exciting horse racing industry, the Racetrack Industry Program can put you in the winner's circle.
You know the time is now. What you waiting for? The time is now. Hear us knocking at the door. The time is now. is now. You've seen the rest now. You want the best, but the time is now.
The 2025 Global Symposium on Racing. It's the premier networking event of the year. Connect with the who's who of racing. Collaborate face-to-face with key decision makers. Be a part of the international conversation. Discover the latest technology and innovation. Join us December 8th through 10th. Register at racingsymposium.com.
All right, let me just quickly wrap things up here, give some thank yous and whatnot for our weekend at Woodbine for a Woodbine Mile. Again, we used to come up for Queen's Plate, which was in June years ago. And now that it's King's Plate and it's in August now, obviously we're up at Saratoga. So we get the couple of weeks after Saratoga to come up here for the Woodbine Mile. And as I say, it's a fun trip. If you've never made it, hop on the thruway, take a right at Buffalo. As Klaus said, you have to have the passport or the enhanced license, but pop over the border and make a visit up here. You will enjoy it, believe me. And maybe you can get a room at the hotel overlooking the track, even better. But regardless of where you go, or just kind of make it a day trip, that's something to keep in mind as well. If you plan it out right, and have the time, you can maybe make a stop at Fort Erie. You can make a stop at the Finger Lakes. Presque Isle is not crazy off the route either. So keep that in mind if it is of interest to you. All right, let's give some thanks here. First, to the folks who sat in with me the past couple of days, our friend Pete Forntal from In the Money Media on the handicapping show yesterday. Appreciate that. Luke Elder came in from Sky Sports European, so gave us some insights and thoughts on the European runners yesterday. Appreciate that. Today it was Ron Gierkink and Greg Peacock, and again, both very entertaining. We appreciate their participation. Our guys have Dino right out here on the tech side of things, Dino Cantonacci, Mike Callahan also from Capital OTB. If you're down in the Clubhouse Racebook, clearly you are familiar with Mike, but he was part of the team as well. Down in the studio, Dan Hayes and Anthony Probst kept things rolling down there. Up here at Woodbine, it was Klaus, who you saw earlier. He's always one of our liaisons, as it were. We appreciate him. Lindsey Bax also was with us throughout the weekend here and there, and everybody at Woodbine. We appreciate the hospitality, as I say all the time. When we come up here, we're just treated so well, and it's so much fun that, again, thanks to everybody at Woodbine. Thanks to Jeff Brett yesterday for having me in on the pregame, the pre-race for race 3. That was a lot of fun to come in and handicap on the Woodbine signal yesterday. So again, thanks to Jeff for allowing that participation also. I'm just looking, I think that's pretty much everybody as far as thank yous, other than thank you to you. As always, we appreciate you tuning in and enjoying the product. Hopefully you did enjoy. I think it was entertaining and informative. Again, great racing again today up here at Woodbine, so keep that in mind. Hopefully we gave you some ideas over the last 90 minutes on some of the races this afternoon here at Woodbine, so keep that in mind as well. Oh, don't forget Monmouth today, closing day, mandatory pays in all the picks. I think there's a carryover there's a jackpot wager, I think, that has a carryover, but it's mandatories today down at Monmouth, so keep that in mind as well. But as I say, nice card up here with a couple of Ontario-bred races at Woodbine. All right, Seth Merrow for Capital OTB TV, wrapping up a big and a fun weekend here at Woodbine. Again, we appreciate their hospitality. We appreciate your tuning in. Back in the studio midweek. We'll see you then. We'd like to thank Woodbine for their sponsorship of this program and some of the other programming and events here at Capital OTB. Woodbine open now through December, featuring great racing, including the King's Plate coming up in August, Turf Champions Day with the Woodbine Mile in September, and much, much more. Woodbine Racing, great racing north of the border.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off-Track Betting.